Okay, welcome again, and
Thank you so much for having me.
thank you for joining us. So, um, as you heard from my friend of our podcast, and since we're on election season, we have a political segment ongoing, called youth vote. The TH at the end is in brackets, so it's you
Yeah,
vote. So trying to get
yeah,
everyone to participate in voting and all that. So
perfect.
yeah, we've had a couple of parties, joining, and we're also glad that it's not just the top three, also other parties
100%.
are joining us. Okay, so I'm just gonna start with the overview of the Good Party, and you can just confirm whether the information that I have here is correct or not, or you can even add to that shortly.
Perfect.
Okay, so the Good Party is a South African political party that was formed in December 2018, yes. And it is led by the Patricia de Lille. She is currently the Minister of Tourism, and they are up for a country that has zero tolerance for racism, gender discrimination, corruption, and poverty. And today we are joined by a youth leader, Kaden Arguile. Is that correct?
Perfect. It's Argyle, but it's
Oh,
close enough.
Iga,
All good.
Iga. Okay, Iga. Okay. So, yeah. So, we'll be discussing the party's manifesto and other things that your party stand for. So, yeah,
Perfect.
let's, without any time wasted, let's get into it. So, can you shortly tell us about yourself?
Well, first of all, my name is Kaden Arguile. I'm 25. I've currently lived in 4 provinces across the country, ranging from Mpumalanga to Gauteng to Eastern Cape and now in Western Cape, since I moved down here to work as the lead researcher and speechwriter for the Good Party in the National Assembly after finishing my qualifications and getting my honours degree at UR or a Rhodes in Makanda. And ever since then, basically came here and have been working with Good since then. And then at our first inaugural conference, I was elected as the youth representative for the party. When it comes to who I am as a person, my most important things that I'm striving behind in terms of my policies is infrastructure redevelopment, it's environmental justice, it's economic justice, making sure we focus on citizens first and everything else later.
Okay, thank you. So, why the Good Party?
So the Good Party is a really interesting party because, as you say, first of all, it is new. We have a lot of these action essays, Rise Mzansi's, Bossa with Musi Masimane, as that is their official title. All of these different parties are also new, but as you said, we were only formed 6 months before the election. So it's got a lot of new forward-thinking policies. It's got a lot of passionate people within it, and it's very community focused. You'll see that we're not, massively funded, huge amounts of party propaganda portfolio everywhere with huge funds flying our people everywhere. We are 100% a community-based party that started off as that, and through Patricia's basic initiative to find that left centrist niche that is currently not really occupied within the South African political spectrum, and to try and basically go through the political climate that we have right now as the adults in the room. That's the mindset that Good has. We're trying to, in all of our different areas, look at the legal precedents, look at the, context, the history, those that could be mostly affected. So that's one of the reasons why I really like Good. It's because, we're not a sensationalist populist party that will constantly try to do the biggest thing that goes along with the headlines or scream this or scream that. We're a party that is trying our best to basically just be a voice for the people. And I really like that. And through my own experience in 2 years here and, being new in Cape Town and which is obviously the Good's biggest area, I've really been able to interact with communities and also hear their concerns and hear what human rights are important to them. This last weekend, we were in Mitchell's Plain and we fed the community there and also did a community mural. In that environment, you are discussing everything from human rights to, crime to different economic factors that are obviously impacting the area. And Good is a party that basically is not trying to give you a plan that is not feasible. We have a manifesto that was obviously launched and have a clear 10-point directive steps. We also are, offering alternative solutions that other people aren't. While other parties say that there is a necessity for the basic income grant, we put a number into it. We've defined how we're going to do it. We've also, said these are the steps that need to take place. These are the areas that needs to shift, and have obviously consulted with various economists to, ensure that this is possible. So to sum it up, basically, I like good because at the end of the day, when there's so much work that needs to be done in this country, good is not trying to grow at the expense of its, reputation or at the expense of what things it can deliver. It wants to be as realistic as possible, and also try and, keep as much coalition and cooperation amongst South African people as possible in order to help the most vulnerable, which are taking the biggest impact and biggest effect as, these various political parties scramble to try and get whatever voters they can on their side. I think you're muted. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. I did mute. Okay. So thank you. So you mentioned being not massively funded to entirely not funded, So like there's something particular about the party. I believe your member, Patricia, is the only member from a different party to be in the cabinet. So like what's your view on that? Like tell me more about that.
Well, I think, it's both, if we're being realistic right now, it can be both a real positive and a real detriment, because as you can see, there aren't any other political leaders outside of Cyril who are obviously working within the cabinet. And, when you are needing to campaign in this part of the country and this part of the country, but you're also trying to be accountable to, the millions of people in the tourism industry that rely upon you, it's also hard to, divert your interests. But Patricia is one of those people where, it's a week is for the job, and then the weekend is for more of the job. There is no time off for her, which is something that I obviously really respect about it, because for someone at her age, with the CV that she has from the apartheid era, with the multiple different areas that she's governed, and the uptick that the tourism industry is seeing behind her, as well as the tourism council basically getting behind her following the Tottenham Hotspur deal and all of the different shebangs that we were going through before she came in. It's been a real positive for her in that. And when it comes to, just the actual concept of having a leader who can, show that they are someone who is being in government, is currently in government, and can achieve in government, is something that is, really, really refreshing. And I think that is just, a testament to her character, because while we have a lot of different really qualified and some really unqualified people putting their names forward to be leaders of this country, the CV that she has is undeniable. And I think that's something that, Ramaphosa himself noticed. And if there was any other political party who would be given an opportunity right now to walk into cabinet and to basically execute it, I and many other people believe that they would strongly take it, and we've seen it in the past before. So you often get a lot of online trolls, etc., saying, "Oh, you're part of this cabinet, aka you're part of the in the pocket, or you're controlled, you're this coalition partner."
Yes.
But that's just noise, because as I said, there's been plenty of times where we've been the middleman at the table. We voted on this side of the floor for this, such as our multi-party coalition statement that just came out today with our rivals, etc., condemning the Electoral Amendment Act that was just passed. That side, we've worked together with the DA, Freedom Front people, etc., that we don't usually side with. But then in the past, we've sided with the ANC when it came to the impeachment on Cyril Ramaphosa's case, because there was not jurisdiction in that, and that the report was outdated. But then you still have people, who are going from one side to the other side. So it's a tricky situation. As I said, you get all the positive PR from all of the good things that she does in tourism, and all of, the good action that she does, which is undeniable and, is tangibly evident. But also, you also get that a little bit of a disconnect, because people, are seeing you work with the opposition party, or because you are not able to, travel all across the country, visiting every single community, focusing purely on canvassing votes, which is, something that a lot of political leaders are doing currently with election season right around the corner.
Okay. So like, do you think there should be more occurrences like that, like with other political parties as well?
Yeah, I mean,
and why?
good. We have consistently said that we are open to coalitions. We were part of the team that went to Denmark to basically learn from them. And we were at the coalition conference at the University of Western Cape as well, that a couple of other parties didn't attend. And, we are 100% committed to what is basically the future of this country, in which multiple different voices representing multiple different people, representing multiple different ideas as their priority, are going to come into government, and we're going to have to learn how to adapt to that. And while we have seen, failures in some areas in, various municipalities, we have seen the citizens suffer in that aspect. When it comes to the highest level of government and, various departments that have been struggling over the past 20 years, whether it be water and sanitation, whether it be energy, etc., having fresh faces, having fresh ideas, having people who are willing to, challenge the status quo is always a positive. And that's why Good will never, ever discount working with anyone or in anything on that mindset. We are purely focused on whatever suits the most vulnerable and whatever helps the most vulnerable in the most effective way. So if various ministers from various political parties, even ones that we are opposed to, come with correct qualifications and correct, CVs, and having the correct mindset and correct plan, we will completely back them regardless of, what their political affiliation is.
Okay, thank you. Now on to the manifesto review. So could you give us a short summary of the manifesto?
I can do you one better. I'll run through our 10-point plan. And this 10-point plan basically is the core of our manifesto and is, what is getting expanded upon in the various areas. So the first thing that we need to do is invest in jobs. And in a country that is literally the highest in the world, and I'm going to repeat that, the highest in the world out of any single other country when it comes to youth unemployment, it is an absolute crisis. And I think we can all see that the GDP growth is not sufficient. We can also see that the amount of jobs that are being closed in various areas because of Eskom and the inefficiency in that, and all of the different aspects of the infrastructure collapses that we've seen on top of the COVID-19 pandemic as well. We've seen a continued, basically up the creek without a paddle mindset from government towards our youth. And it's been very, very concerning. And so that's basically the first thing for us to really recover and fix South Africa. The second thing for us is what has been the main driving point of our manifesto, and that is our 999 basic income grant. The basic income grant structure has been proven to be effective in multiple African nations, whether it be Namibia, whether it be Kenya. We have seen studies like that, and Good itself has actually been doing a couple of its own experiments using the 999 Rand income that we've been funding ourselves to see how members in the community can basically use that money to either up their standard of living or potentially seek self-employment from that as well. So, so that's something that's really important to us because it's a tangible idea that we are giving a fixed number to, that sadly with the confirmed electricity charge increases that we've heard this week and fuel increases, all of these different products and all of these different numbers that we proposed a year ago are pretty much outdated now because of the rise in food costs that we've seen, which is at currently the highest the country's ever seen before. So that's another thing for us. Apartheid spatial planning is the third pillar for us. Obviously, land and land restitution falls underneath that, but just the ability to still have townships and cities, and then having that absolute juxtaposition between the two, whether it be Alexandria and Sandton, whether it be Hout Bay and Khayelitsha, or anywhere in this country, having a city structure where we have so many first world elements, and then having a completely rural area which is devoid of even services that are required for basic human rights is something that we can't accept in the 21st century at all, and should be seen as a crisis in itself and given the utmost attention to. So after that, electricity is obviously something that is massive to us, and our policy on that. We are a party that has a strong environmental focus. So we have a complete saying of no new coal. And that is purely because the just energy transition that is coming in right now, as well as the absolute plummeting rates that we're currently seeing for solar imports from China and various other countries, which we are also BRICS affiliated with, simply makes the entire notion of switching to renewables the fastest way to get electricity in the hands of the most vulnerable. And if you drive anywhere in the country and you go into areas where there are RDP houses, etc., you're already seeing these solar panels that are powering these houses. The mines themselves, these coal mines, etc., have aspects of their electricity that's being powered by solar and various other renewables. So all of our society is currently there, and all we need to do now is fully embrace it and transition to it through this international support and international funding that we've been loaned as well as given. And with that, we can not only create economic opportunities, but on top of that, we can serve the most vulnerable who are going and studying for their exams without any electricity. And that is a norm in a community. And yeah, to conclude, we have 4 points there with our manifesto, and that is transport. As I spoke about earlier, the transport situation in this country in terms of our city planning and spatial planning is of huge concern. The amount of train and rail capabilities that we have has been plummeting over the years, and we've seen our exports as well suffer massively from the lack of support when it comes to train infrastructure for exports, which has impacted itself, the economic sector, and of course, the lack of public transport that is affordable and convenient for anyone in these communities where you have such a juxtaposition and such a separation between the two separate communities means that economic upliftment is being barred by our own systems. And that in itself is, you know, like it's the red tape that is cut, and it's the fresh mindsets that I was talking about earlier that need to put this renewed vigor and renewed passion into dealing with these issues. Corruption is obviously something that anyone and any single political party will talk about, even the one that is currently in power and is accused of the most corruption. And, you know, it's something that it just can't be overshadowed because it's both a ground system corruption level as well as a top-down corruption level. And when we are seeing, you know, institutions like the National Prosecution Agency being defunded, it basically completely contradicts all of the progress that we made with things like the Zondo Commission, etc., which still to this day have not seen as many prosecutions as it should be. And that, you know, that translates into crime as well. In the 2022 to 2023 period, 90% of convictions for murder were not convicted, aka only 10% of murderers were convicted through the NPA. And when we have, you know, public institutions like the SIU making such amazing investigations, such as the lottery case or various other cases with the water councils, etc., these are like, you know, the public institutions that should be protected and, you know, built around and have funding and have young people that they're trying to get in and, you know, make a culture that can basically continue to rid of our country of all corruption. While in reality, these corporations are not only sometimes ignored, but they are often defunded. And if anything, you know, that just shows how the country is basically on the back foot, while the promises are on the front foot. So it's, you know, actions speak louder than words. And in our country, there's a lot of words that's being thrown around now. Finally, once you have the society that, you know, has education, once it has, you know, no crime, once it has better anti-corruption agencies, once it has more affordable transport, better economic opportunities, that's when a reform of the education system is needed. Because, you know, once that has happened, you've basically set up your entire structure for the future. And there's nothing that encapsulates the future more than education. And that's why, even though it's, you know, on our 10th point on our list, it's absolutely pivotal for us because it's, you know, the next step for the next 10 points after that. And education really gives, you know, every single person in this country the ability to uplift themselves out of poverty or change their own fate. And in a country which is so devoid of hope and has so many factors, as I said, that is working against us, it's really, really important that we have teachers and staff, etc., as well as motivated students in well-funded facilities that can basically push our country forward and continue to grow what we're trying to grow since 1994.
Thank you. You know, you mentioned grants, you know, and many people argue that, you know, they speak about how it creates such a dependent nation, you know, deprives our people of passion to, you know, work for themselves. And also, you know, there are cases whereby, you know, parents themselves, and we can see with the child grants, you know, parents use that for their own pleasures and stuff like that. So like,
100%.
how would you address that to people who have such mindsets and such concerns?
Yeah, so the handout discussion is, you know, the biggest like deterrent to anyone going into this like discussion, because as you say, there's this mindset that, hey, who qualifies for this? Who's funding this? And how do we even implement it so that the people are using it effectively? Well, first of all, we have to, you know, even go to the root nature of that question. If we as a society are assuming that people are poor because of their own decisions rather than the environmental factors, crime, lack of transport, lack of access to jobs, lack of food security, you know, lack of time to pursue the education that you need, well, then I feel like we've already failed as a society that is trying to look for the most vulnerable, because then immediately anything we could have that same whataboutism for. And while those, you know, concerns are valid, and there's definitely needing to be a restructuring of various things such as budgets, etc., which is, by the way, can I just, you know, I'll plug good right now. We do go through in our policies, etc., the financial ways about this, whether it be, you know, cutting taxation in this area, whether it be about increasing the amount of goods that are VAT free, whether it be about, you know, cutting ministerial positions that are unnecessary, and or even donating assets that are seized by various, you know, organizations like the SIU, etc., and depositing that into these accounts. There are a ton of different reports every single year that are about understanding. And to many people, to the, you know, the casual observer, they see the words unused spending and they think, oh, that's a good thing. We have surplus, you know, we have extra money for this. No, excess spending is basically saying that this extra spending is basically saying that we had these projects, we could have done all these different things, but we couldn't. We couldn't implement them in an effective way. We couldn't get the correct people to lead them. There was too much red tape, etc. And basic income grant is something that we've already seen, if you think about it, being in concept, proven effective through the SRD grant in COVID-19. And as I say, when people talk about, you know, the COVID, this grant system, they fail to do the research and see that there's been effective community-based basic income grants that have been applied in the African perspective. And that is what I want to drive home as well, you know, not a European or a different perspective, in an African perspective, in African communities, factoring in, you know, African factors, whether it be climate, whether it be different, you know, rural areas, whether it be the lack of transport, all of these different areas. It has been proven to be effective. It has been proven to be fundable. And through, you know, reallocation of resources, through these resources that are not being funded, through misallocation of funds, through corruption, etc., it is something that is funded. And we're already paying so much for government's failures. You know, as I said earlier, today it is being announced that electricity is going up 12%. And while this is, you know, people can argue that it's necessary, you know, it's not justified, because of the fact that we are paying for the mistakes of corruption, and we're paying for the mistakes of failures in SOEs, etc. And the people who are paying the most is not you and me who are discussing here. It's the people who are in Atlantis that, you know, are now suddenly unable to afford that taxi to their job interview. It's the people in, you know, Soweto who now don't have the vital money that they need to support their children at home. You know, it's anywhere in the country, the people who are struggling after this COVID-19 pandemic as well, the youth who are struggling to find employment. This 999 Rand, which, as I said earlier, has been, you know, with these rising costs, etc., now theoretically would have to be more. This 999 Rand concept, it's not a fixing the whole problem concept. And that's what I think people don't understand. They think it's, oh, if you don't have this 999 Rand, and if you don't have a job, and if you're not using it for this, and if you're not using it for this effective way to better your life, then you're immediately wasting the money. But a lot of those people are using that for these electricity units that I'm talking about, so putting a meal that's different and more nutritious in front of their children's on their children's dinner table after eating, you know, pap or mealie or whatever has been the most affordable, you know, taking the taxi or affording the food, or say putting 100 Rand away each month to buy a camera that you can use to start your own business. That is the small mindset that we have to have. And we've seen it being effective through the SOD grant. And with the cost of living and the poverty line being way above what we had with it in the 300s, we need to adapt to the modern age. And with factored, researched accounts within Africa showing that this is not only possible, but it's viable in multiple different areas, means that it, in our opinion, is good, the most viable solution to solving the economic disparity in this country.
Wow, I myself just learned something new there. Okay, so like the question is the Good Party racially based, you know, because most of its voters are coming from the Western Cape, and many are of the firm view that Aunty is using racial lines to, you know, to gather her votes, to garner her votes.
I think, even in trying to entertain that kind of notion is just, not even knowing the kind of person that Auntie Pat is.
Mm-hmm.
Auntie Pat is someone that is, based in the Western Cape. This is a home, etc. And people forget, that 2019, as you said, 6 months before the elections happened, we contested for these elections, and everyone said that was impossible, that there was no chance that you're going to get seats. You're too small, you're a fragmented party, you haven't done this. And we did get seats, and Patricia was obviously recognized at that point and put in the public works and infrastructure. And from then, in 2019, what happened after 2019? We had COVID. And being, as I said to you earlier, a smaller party that is not having 15 million donations from this family, etc., or 16 from that. We are a community base that relies on donations through dinner tables, through funders, through doing that groundwork and exposing that message and talking about the various plans that we have. So Auntie Pat, had to use what was available to her. So focusing on the Western Cape, where she, was the former mayor of Cape Town, etc., and having a strong voter constituency is very similar to anyone who is playing the political game. You see Gayton McKenzie as well as also targeting various municipalities. And that's why when you look at, various polls like Ipsos, Brenthurst, etc., they fail to really truly capture the political nature of this country, because tons of parties like ours, like Mkonto Wesizwe, like PA, etc., are targeting various communities, and rather saying, instead of trying to broadcast our message in every single community, let's focus on these communities first, bring the strong voter base up. And that's what we've been doing for the past couple of years. And now we have had our first 4 years with, leading up towards the national elections. And with that, in our NLC conference, we've got our Northwest representative, we've got our KZN representative, we've got our Northern Cape representative, we've got our Eastern Cape representatives, we've got our Gauteng team. So, it's easy to say because of the, amount of effort that's being put into the Western Cape and the amount of strong, good supporters that we have here, that good is a purely Western Cape party. But if you read our narratives, if you read our plans, if you read our, policies, etc., none of these are exclusively towards any people. None of these are focused on towards a certain demographic that would, benefit a certain area, like, a Cape referendum or something like that. It's purely just, these are the areas that we have the most voter base on from our early time in 2019. These are the people that we're going to communicate with, and we're going to grow all over the country. And we have been growing all over the country. Our growth in various areas like Northern Cape, Eastern Cape, and Gauteng has been positive to see. So our message is definitely universal for South Africans. And just like any political party, like an Action SA in Gauteng, we have our stronghold, and our stronghold is currently Western Cape, where we perform the best.
Since you did mention, the referendum party, what's your view on the Cape independence?
I think even, from someone who studied 4 years, doing African politics, learning about colonialism, learning about Orientalism, etc., even speaking about these people and giving them airtime is something that I don't want to do. In fact, I've blocked many people out of that party because the policy arguments that they have are just simply nonsensical. The what, whens, hows, and whys of that entire process would literally impact the Western Cape in such a negative way that it would be preposterous to even engage with it, let alone, the how is this getting passed through this constitution and how would they get the independence, etc. It's purely noise, and it's purely a noise backed by people who are, if I'm being honest, they have their own racial mindsets. They have their own mindsets on colonialism and what works and what doesn't work. And if you spend 15 minutes, and I have as a researcher, truly engaging with their content and seeing what, posters they're putting out, what kind of content they're putting out, you will see that, they are not speaking for everyone. They're speaking for a very small minority. And that minority is not the poor, because the poor in Cape Town are as I said, I was in Mitchell's Plain this weekend. I'm in Atlantis. I'm in Yanga. I'm in all of these areas. These areas are just as poor as other areas I've lived in by Mkhan, in like by Soweto, by Alexandria, Makanda, and East Cape. All of these areas have all of the same poverty. And to think that somehow creating independence in the Western Cape is going to solve everything rather than just creating more red tape and more animosity and more divide in this country is just nonsensical. And that's the end of that.
Thank you. Because really, man, separation is not good, really. Okay, anyway, I'm not supposed to share my views.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, next question is, like, what are some of the promises that you have, that your party has for the youth? Like, we're questioning now your presence in universities as well as colleges,
Yeah. So you see, a lot of people don't realize that, when it comes to things like colleges, etc., the amount of process time to get in there is long. Like the amount of admin, etc., to get that established, etc., is months. And I'm talking about, you get put your application gets put in front of a committee, then the committee waits, for the next year's to start before you even allowed in. And with me only being obviously elected quite recently in November last year, I've been very focused on, first of all, restructuring and creating, a youth policy and a youth mindset that is focused and is also, not entirely dependent on, as I said, these massive funds flying around the country, going from this university to this university. It's, driving an F1 race in a Chevy while other people are in Formula One cars, but also that Chevy's got a little bit of heart, that Chevy's relatable.
Yeah.
People are relating for it. And that's what we're trying to do, is basically engaging in communities, doing the things that are not sensationalist and are not also, exclusionary. Because when I think about university structures, I went to university, I engaged with policy, etc., at Rhodes, and discussed in various political classes the natures of SRCs and various student structures. And while they are extremely viable, in my personal opinion, and Good will be making its own effort on campuses, etc., the way to connect to the youth is not going and lecturing in a UCT hall. It's not going and like standing outside in the quad of Wits and with handing out Red Bulls to students, etc. It's about giving them a message that they can truly stand behind. It's about giving them values that relate to them. And that's something that I feel like Good does. And when people engage with our policy, it's always tough. We're not there's this whole narrative that the bigger parties are spreading around, vote for a smaller party is a waste of a vote, etc. So it's always tough, because a lot of people in the country think of us versus them mentality, with having a majority party in control for so long, and any non-competitive strong challenger to that person is immediately seen as a wasted vote. But then when you engage with these people and you talk about, simply what is the human right that is most important to you, or what foreign matter right now is the most pressing to you, when you have those conversations, a lot of the people are like, wow, we don't realize that you've been on the Palestine issue since 2019, and are putting up billboards across the country talking about the apartheid struggle that was focusing there. And then you've got other people who are like, wow, okay, so this basic income grant that almost every single other party is now using as a standard line, that was there a year ago, before even some of these parties were announced. And we've been there, and we will always, as I say, try be the calm, mature adult in the room, and try and be as accountable as possible, and try and be as disciplined as possible, because that's the kind of ship that Aunty Pat likes to run. It's how she runs other things as well. She's a tough woman, but she's got a great mindset when it comes to what we need to do. And that's why I believe, while it's tougher for us to get onto these youth campuses, to sponsor these gazebos, to do all these different things, to fly across. We are in the formation of, doing our own youth structures. And those youth structures will be initially focused on a ground level in communities, talking about various issues that are affecting them, talking about various issues, whether it be crime, whether it be drugs, whether it be economic employment, and trying to help those people directly. not through, you know, as I say, like dancing, singing, etc. That's all fun and games, and we want to get there. But in the beginning, we want to show that our words and our actions and our, you know, the direction that we're going in is one that is something that the youth can relate to and that inspires them again. Because with so many youth not voting and so many deregistered youth, even though we've seen a better rise in these last couple of weeks before the elections ended, classic Gen Zers leaving it to the last minute.
Yes.
But even though we've seen that, it's still, you know, not enough. And if there's any political party that can truly speak to the youth, that political party, you know, suddenly has 30, 40 seats in this National Assembly and can do really good work addressing that youth. And as someone, and, you know, I personally, if the candidate lists came out last week, you're talking about good youth. I myself am, you know, an emphasis of good youth. If you look through that candidate list, out of every single political party that is currently has a seat in parliament, I am the youngest person in the country that is in the current top 10 of any political party. So they, you know, you have all these other parties that have a lot of youth presence, have a lot of youth NGO, will put that person on the pedestal, etc. But where are they, you know, on the candidate list? Where are they in terms of the debates? Where are they in terms of, you know, who's speaking, who's having a control? And I can tell you, you know, from my own personal experience, every single moment that I've worked in good, my opinion has been listened to and my opinion has been used. And that has been used, whether it be to ministers when I was 24, or whether that be used, you know, in conferences or debates, etc. Youth in good might not be as massive as some of the other youth organizations, but one thing that we do is listen, and we will definitely elevate you. And we will definitely recognize that your voice and that your passion, etc., matches someone who might have 70 years of experience, but doesn't have the passion and energy, etc., that the youth do. And that's why good is a new party, because we're embracing these new political ideas and out with the old and in with the new.
Wow. Yeah, that actually hit home. I mean, like everything you said. I mean, even about the small parties, I mean, like that's what the mindset that I had also, you know, I'm guilty and like, you know, I just learned a lot. And like, yeah, with everything you said, you know, especially about the youth and with you, you know, as the youth, I mean, like being in the top 10, I mean, like that's a fact, you know, it's rare to find, you know.
Literally.
We do want to thank you for your time. You know, our time limit now is come to an ish. Must upgrade to pro now ish, but like that's
exactly. It was lovely though, man.
but
Thank you so
like
much for having me.
yes, but like fortunately, man, I was enjoying this, but we have to end it here. And yeah, but I do wish the best for you, you know, in the political journey as
Thank
well
you
as
very
the
much.
core party, you know, and yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, there's no other interview that I've conducted that, you know, I felt something like this.
Well, you see, if we connecting to you in some way, and the mindset, you know, the way I talk to people, the way I want to do politics, Kaden Arguile, I don't want to be a politician. I want to be a mouthpiece, you know, brother. Like that's if that's the words that I can live by in my political career, and people can watch this interview and hold me to it in 20 years time. But it's, you know, like good is that kind of people. You know, we're not gonna be sensationalists. And if there's anything that I want to leave you for with today, and the people that are listening to today, is that your voice matters, your vote matters. And whether you're voting for good or whether you're voting for anyone in this country, recognize that in a time where there is violence, where there is poverty, where there is natural disasters happening and people without hope, that living in a country where you can be democratically free and your votes are protected and your rights are protected like they are in this country is worth voting for. No matter how disillusioned you are with the current government and how many promises they've made, your vote matters, and whoever receives it is lucky. And we wish all of us in the political spectrum to get as many youth and as many people out there to just realize that there are people with energy, there's people with passion, and the next phase of South Africans are coming in, you know. We're ready.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Have a lovely day.
Likewise.